Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let's imagine for a moment that your teacher, your science teacher, gives you an assignment. And the assignment is to create a table containing some data that you collect for an assignment, and then create a graph out of that data. Well, if you've never used spreadsheets before, spreadsheets are really, really wonderful when it comes to tracking data, organizing data, and also creating graphs out of data that you've entered. So let's imagine that your teacher has given you an assignment to create a table and a graph, and the independent variable, the x-axis, measured the height that an object, let's say a ball, was dropped. And the dependent variable, the y-axis, was the time that it took the object to fall. First, I'd like to show you how to use a program called Microsoft Excel to create a table that would show this information. Let's begin at the beginning. The x-axis, that would be here. Everything in row 1 is the x-axis. Now this, as I told you before, is going to be the independent variable, and these are our heights. And since we have, let's say hypothetically speaking, three different heights, we're going to put height 1, height 2, and height 3. Now, let's also say that you've been asked to create an average of the time it took for the object to fall at each height. Well, we can add a fourth group here in the independent variable x-axis for the average. And then we have time. Now, since we're going to drop the ball or this object 3 different times, we're going to create 3 different entries. Time 3, time 2, whoops, go back here, time 2, and time 1. Now let's enter some information. First, let's start with height 1, which we're going to imagine is the lowest height. And the first time we drop it, let's say it was 0.52 seconds. That's about half a second. Then the second time we drop it, it was 0.61. And the third time we drop it, it was 0.58. Now let's go to the second height. This is a little higher. The first time we drop it, it's 0.71. The second time we drop it, it is 0.82. And the third time we drop it, it is 0.66. Alright, the third height is, of course, going to be the highest. So the first trial would be 1.1 seconds, hypothetically speaking. The second is 1.5, and the third is 1.8. Now let me show you a really cool way to average cells in a spreadsheet. What you do is you select the cells you want to average, and you go up here to the sum button, and you click average, and then you can go ahead and do that for each of these entries of time at different heights, and click average, and we'll do it again, and you'll see that your averages show up here. So that's a table. This is a table that you've created for dropping a ball 3 times at 3 different heights. Now, let's imagine that you wanted to create a graph that showed the time over the different heights that it took the balls to drop. Well, this is really cool. What you want to do is highlight the information that you would like to graph and go to insert, and we want a line graph of some kind. So when you click line, you get all kinds of different options for the different kinds of graphs that you would like to create. I'm just going to choose the first one, which is a 2D line. You can click 3D lines, and they're really cool, and you can just experiment with those on your own. So once you click a 2D line, then a graph shows up of all of your data. Here is height 1, height 2, height 3, and here is the average. And this is the time that it took for these things to drop. So at the first height, first time is just under 6. Well, does that make sense? Yes, it's 0.5. At the second height, the first test that we did was between 0.6 and 0.7. Is that true? Yes, it is. It's 0.61. So there you have it, folks. It's very easy to create tables and graphs in Excel. In fact, Excel does most of the work for you. So there you go. Bye-bye.